Hello everyone, I'm Don Prezant and I'm recording this presentation ahead of time just for safety reasons. It's a big distance between me and you and I want to make sure it works well. I'm here to talk to you about ePortfolios for employability and with a bit of a subtext about Mahara ePortfolio, the platform we're using, and how it works with Moodle. There won't be too much about that, but we will talk about Moodle somewhat. I wish I were over there in Munich. As a young boy, I lived in Germany, and I have many fond memories of Munich. But anyway, on with the show. First, just a little bit about where I'm talking to you from. I'm from a small province in the center of Canada called Manitoba. I call it small, but it's actually huge in area. But tiny population. Most of it lives down around the southern border there. Fairly diverse background, diverse economy. And I like to call it Canada's social science laboratory because you can start things there, and if they don't work out, it's not a huge disaster, but a lot of things do work out, and a lot of innovations begin in Manitoba. I like to say it's fun in the winter. Some pictures here from the recently ended Festival du Voyageur, which celebrates Manitoba's fur trade past with the Hudson's Bay Company and the Northwest Company working with the Aboriginals and the furs. My own company is involved in e-learning, has been since 2000. My background is in educational broadcasting. There's a strong influence of video in what I do. You'll see that in the presentation. I guess what the best way to talk about what I do is I help people tell their stories, and I've done that in the past through testimonials and success stories as learning resources, and I'm doing that now with ePortfolios, helping people tell their stories as they are evolving. My own ePortfolio is at the bottom here, and I have another link to that later on. What I'd like to talk to you about today is ePortfolios and how Mahara fits into that continuum. Then talk about the particular ePortfolio that I'm producing here in Manitoba. A little bit about how it works with Moodle. Then I'll demonstrate it for you, and then just sort of come back and some comments about where we think we're headed. I'm hoping this will only take about 30 minutes and that we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. So what is an ePortfolio? This is from the UK. And I like it. It's a sort of a single view. There are a lot of arguments about ePortfolios that sometimes begin with different assumptions about what they're for. Some people think they're all about assessment. Some people think they're all about learning. I tend to say they're about both, and it depends on what particular context you're in as to which is relevant. So that's where I'm talking about the shop window, which might be for assessment or a celebration of skills. Or the factory where you're actually working on the skills. So there are parts that are public, there are parts that are private, things that are finished, things that are unfinished, and it's, to some people it's a shoebox, to other people it's a shop window. So Christina Hepner from Catalyst in New Zealand has this great slide here where she has a lot of the key things that you end up doing with your ePortfolio. Mahara is a Maori word which actually means to think or to know, and so that's a key thing. You use your ePortfolio to think. You use it to collect things, to pull them together, to organize them, reflect on them, to present them to others, to create new things and share them with other people, and then even collaborate with others. Part of your learning comes from other people and from live other people, not just artifacts. So the idea of networking is very important there too. So that whole metaphor about the factory and the shop window, that plays out here on these two slides. This one would be more the factory, or in this case I'm saying it's an online locker or interactive workbook. It's where you work on things, it's where you work things out, it's where you get help from other people. To some extent it can be performance support. So that's what I'm talking about here with the personal learning environment and the idea of continuous learning. Journaling to yourself, things like that. But then you can also use it for demonstrating your learning and maintaining that learning and showing how you're maintaining it. So it can be used for academic recognition to challenge credit for courses and programs. It can be used for advancing in your career, for example, showing that you're ready for a raise, that you're ready for promotion. If you're a professional, it can be where you prove that you're maintaining your currency as a professional, or perhaps where you're assembling evidence for recertifying, which is actually something that's happening quite commonly in the UK now and may also be happening in Germany. Pardon my ignorance, I don't know. So in general, I see it as a lifelong, life-wide tool that can begin in formal education but goes on from there to can be maintained throughout your working life and even throughout your personal private life as well as your professional life. So just a little word about Mahara. Um, some of you may know it was invented in New Zealand between 2006 2008. I think the first official version was in 2008. It's open source like Moodle, which means it's free. I say free like a puppy because you have to feed and maintain that puppy ongoing. The good things about open source, yes, it's less cost, but I think more importantly, you have a little more control over how it gets developed. You can turn certain things on and off. You can influence the direction of it over time. So you can help contribute to a development that you need that can end up being maintained for you by others or by the community over time. So Mahara itself, as an ePortfolio tool compared to other ePortfolio tools, it's best thought of as a way of telling your story the way you want to tell it rather than a tick box. Under the hood, these are the elements. I've got a little diagram coming up where I could show you this, but you would have information about yourself, place where you keep files and bring them out, place where you can maintain learning journals, which are really blogs, little learning plans and ways of tracking those. You publish your information on pages and then decide how public you want to make that. You can embed a bunch of content from other sites such as YouTube and LinkedIn and SlideShare, and you can network with others. So those of you who use it in schools, these can be sort of semi-private spaces where social networking skills can be taught in the school system. This is not a beautiful diagram, but it's hopefully fairly clear about how Mahara has a number of core things that I've just been mentioning here. CPD, that's where you would track workshops that you've attended, for example. You can embed content from outside. These are just examples of things you can embed. And then you can also stream content from outside, from blogs and microblogs and things like that. There's a tool here, technically you can talk to other systems and bring things in and out dynamically. I think that's an area that needs to be developed more. You can export your portfolio and import it into another Mahara or another Leap to a compliant ePortfolio, such as there's one out there called PebblePad. And very interestingly, you can network with Moodle. So just a little detail about Career Portfolio Manitoba itself. It's a community-based initiative, so it didn't begin inside formal education, and it's for adults, typically adults in transition. It's built around Canada's essential skills, which are based, they start from literacy and numeracy, but they also add things like communication skills, ability to work with others, ability to work with computers and other technology, thinking skills, problem-solving skills, all of which can be learned in a number of contexts, but all of which are used in one form or another, in one degree or another, in all jobs. So we have a lot of research around that, and that informs our solution. and then also workplace prior learning assessment. So this would be the idea of getting promoted or developing skills in frameworks. So the vision for Career Portfolio Manitoba, somewhat inspired by other places such as ePortfolio Minnesota and Careers Wales Online. It's for all Manitobans. It's to be learner-owned. Personal and public purposes are fine. Should be life-wide, and based on those essential skills I was talking about, built through partnerships and globally aware. The Moodle concept here, I've got a little bit of detail about that later on, but essentially if you have a Mahara talking to a Moodle properly, you can start submitting content from your portfolio for assignments in Moodle, and you can be graded on those. And then also when you work on certain things in Moodle, you can export those artifacts to your portfolio and keep them ongoing. So this is some detail here. From Moodle, you can export your chat sessions, databases, forum posts, glossary entries, things like that. From Mahara to Moodle, the one issue I would say here is that if you have Moodle 2.3 onward, then you're going to have difficulty with that until they upgrade this portfolio assignment. But this was something that was developed in New Hampshire, the idea of working up some content in Mahara that can be put against a grade in Moodle. So here is a diagram of how we're using Mahara with Moodle. We're a little unusual in that we begin with Mahara. We have a course where we take people through the process of building their portfolio a piece at a time, and we do teach that in class, but this it was set up for learners doing it online. And so after logging in, we have them fill in a form because we need to track the learners who are taking the program so we can be funded. So they fill in a form. They then do a self-assessment, basically talking about things like their essential skills, their confidence working with technology, etc. They take the course and produce a portfolio. They then do a post-course self-assessment, basically the same questions, and hopefully we see a nice difference between those two. They provide a little feedback on the course, they get a certificate, and then they have their ePortfolio ongoing after that. We do these self-assessments and the intake form using the questionnaire module. So I'm going to pop out now and give you a little demonstration of how the system works. Here is the login screen. We have some content available for you without having to register. Unfortunately, we don't have open registration on the system. I'm going to show you the sample ePortfolio to just show you an example of a finished product. This is a so-called profile page, so everyone has one of these, and they're typically available for other people on the system if they're curious who the person is. Within that, though, you can have any number of other pages, and what I've got here is a sample portfolio, and this is actually a fictional person that we've set up to help people model their portfolios. And this might be a page that he would have up as a generic professional page without reference to a particular job. Our story we concocted for this person is the idea of a young immigrant from the Philippines, well educated but unqualified because he left an undergraduate engineering program to immigrate to Canada. So now he's trying to find a place for his skills while he works on his eventual qualification. So very simply laid out page. I have it set up in columns here. Kind of a centerpiece is where we have a little introduction video. It's called About Me. I'll just play that a bit.
Hello, my name is Romwell Paragas. My family and I arrived in Manitoba in April 2010 as provincial nominees from the Philippines. I was 6 credits short of graduating with a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering from the University of Siquijor in Manila when my immigration papers came through. I have decided to pursue employment as an apprentice power electrician.
Okay, so I'm not going to play all that. I'll give you a path to come back to here, and you can look at that. But I just want, basically the idea is to get across an impression of yourself. Applications out there such as LinkedIn have made it more expected that people should provide pictures of themselves, and applications such as YouTube and the video resumes on YouTube make us expect these kinds of things more. So we're trying to model this for people. So you might have some also some evidence from their resume. You definitely have a downloadable resume there, so they'd be able to, the prospective employer would be able to download it and print it, share it. But you're bringing out things like contact information, educational background. This is something I think that's quite important, and the idea of providing authentic evidence that you are who you say you are and you know what you say you know. So this is a bit of a history from his background in the Philippines working in technical facilities. He's trying to get a job in the electronics manufacturing industry, and he was involved in quality inspection in the Philippines, and this helps demonstrate him. There's a picture that's him there in that group and him in this group. And if he tells a little story about it, again, that just builds up his credibility. The other thing I want to show you here is the so-called certificate gallery. These are example certificates. They're not actually real certificates, but if you have certificates, it's a great way to demonstrate that you do have them. So that would be one page. And you don't want to give too much information at once on a portfolio page, so that's why we're keeping this down in terms of material. If the employer is interested, they can look at more information about this person. What are their career goals? What are their essential skills? What are their academic goals? What other evidence do they have? So here we show a little movie using a free tool where Romuald demonstrates his knowledge of statistical process control.
Okay, so what we have here is a typical X bar R control chart. So we use this as an SPC tool to monitor the variability of a particular process. So as we could see on this sheet here, you could write down the process itself, the device or the measuring device you're using, the operator, the date, and the limits.
So I don't want to play the whole video for you again, but I just wanted to show you how that works. So that's great. He has the evidence, and actually if we go back, he has a wide diversity of multimedia evidence in there. And again, it's just to give people ideas, and I'll just show you here some examples of this. So it could be again just him talking, or it could be things like inspecting a circuit board. So
What I have here is a digital input board, or DIB, and we are going to inspect the board and look for defects. So the way I'll do it is look at the top side first and go through the major.
okay, again, I'm not trying to teach you about inspecting boards, but I just wanted to show you that because, I mean, this is great, but it's probably showing too much to an employer at once. So if we come back out here, so I'm going to show you here how to provide evidence in context. Employers are busy people. They don't want to have to figure things out, so the more you can make it easy, the better it is for you. This is a tool that we tell our learners to use, and it's called a job match summary. A very simple idea. You take the employer's requirements that you would get from the job ad and put them in the left column. Could be laid out like this or differently. On the right column, you can line up your evidence, how you match up against his requirements, and hopefully it's a good match. And as relevant, you link out to evidence, and the evidence could be certificates of your learning, or it could be links to worksheets and things where you've written out some things, or it could be things like the video we were just looking at. In this case, it says testing and troubleshooting of subassemblies. Well, what better place to show him demonstrating how he looks at a circuit board. So that we think is useful for people to have. I'm just going to come back up to the top here, and we'll go in and show you the system from the inside. When you log in, you get first of all what's called the dashboard. This shows you the kinds of things you can do in the system. We have a course built up around to support our ePortfolio building, and I can show you how that works. What I'll do now to begin with is just show you initially the connection with Moodle. I was showing you that diagram about how the ePortfolio connects with the Moodle, and I'll just show you in practice how that works. We have the self-directed course. This would be for online learners, and the first thing we have them do is to fill in the so-called intake form. So they would click here, and from here we go to Moodle. So now I've been logged into Moodle, and I'm looking at this intake form that I need to complete. And I would just fill that in, go all the way to the bottom, and hit submit. And then I get another quick questionnaire, which is the self-assessment. I would submit that, and then go back to the course in the right place. I'm not going to do that, it'll just take too long. So I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the course, and for this I'll use the computer lab version. In the sort of face-to-face computer lab version, we deliver this course over 3 days, 6 3-hour modules, sort of half days. Session 1, we essentially introduce people to the idea of ePortfolios. We take their picture, we show them a free tool to edit their picture, so they immediately start having some fun with online content, and we get them to complete their profile page. That's that page when you click on the person's name when you're logged in that you see. That's the end of the first morning. And then in the afternoon, we start talking about video introductions, and we actually videotape them giving an introduction statement of themselves. They can use this or not ongoing. Some of them are really quite good, others not so good, but it's still useful for them to know how they're coming across to people. So we'll take them out one by one and shoot them in a nice way in a small room as they work through the other issues here, creating what's called a professional page. You recall that generic professional page that Romuald had. We teach them how to make a version of that. We start talking about evidence and hopefully get them thinking about more than documents, more than certificates, more than their resume. Start thinking about those pictures, other skills demonstrations they might be able to do. And then we get them to publish their professional page. This won't be complete, but they'll have now created a professional page on top of their profile page, and they now have a mini website that they may never have had before. We also talked about LinkedIn and how that can work for them when we show them later how to work that into their ePortfolio. So the middle day, we have them working through essential skills and thinking through their past and thinking what they did in previous jobs, in their families, on a volunteer basis, for example. And the kinds of skills they learned could be they were the treasurer for the local sports team and they learned Excel spreadsheets at that point, things like that. We talked to them about labor market information and how they can link to finding out more information about their occupation that can help them, provide them with good language they can use in front of an employer, for example. And then we start talking about things such as knowledge, skills, and attitudes, how to arrange several pages in a portfolio, and how to track your learning using continuing professional development. The third day, is where they get to take it. This is the last day. In the morning, they learn ways of taking their ePortfolio to their next level. So they embed their video introduction that we've prepared for them. They perhaps have a bunch of certificates that they might want to display, and we show them how they can display certificates singly or as a bit of a slideshow, a simple slideshow. We talk about video and how powerful that can be for skills demonstrations and demonstration of communication ability. We talked to them about LinkedIn and how that how that can be embedded in their portfolio, and we also look at things such as Screener. This is how we've done, similar to how I'm making this recording now. There's a free tool called Screener that you can record up to 5 minutes of yourself interacting with a computer and talking at the same time, so that you can display your knowledge and your communication skill. And you can use it to show, for example, working with software applications or web tours or even PDF documents. You can do a document tour as you're talking. And it's just more imaginative ways of thinking about evidence. And then, of course, SlideShare, SlideCast. This presentation or similar ones I've got embedded on a web page that I'll show you at the end. So that's in the morning. And then in the afternoon, it's time to move towards graduation. Very short course. We talked to them about how to make that job match summary that I showed you. Talked to them about taking their portfolio from private to public or shared mode, how to use their portfolio in the process of finding a job, and then how to use it for other things such as life portfolios, knowledge portfolios. This portfolio page I'm going to share with you is an example of a knowledge portfolio. And then they basically present their portfolio to the rest of the class, they get a certificate, and they have a lifelong portfolio. So that's it for the demonstration. I'm going to pop back to the presentation here and just talk about where we're headed here. So I talked about that online course. We are going to be encouraging them ongoing to use mobile more. There are a couple of plugins with Mahara where people can take pictures and videos and upload them directly to their portfolios. We're going to encourage the use of Google Apps more because it integrates a lot better in Mahara 1.6. I'm going to talk about open badges. I'll go into a little more detail about that, and then ways in which we can go beyond what we're doing with Mahoodle, and also a very interesting project out of Finland called Kivit. So open badges, very interesting. You're going to be hearing lots and lots more about this ongoing. I think next month, March 15th, is going to be the conference in California, Digital Media and Learning, where the people who were funded to come up with pilot projects using open badges are going to be presenting what they're doing. Essentially, it's micro-credentialing and a way of showing the path to a skill set. This is a very technical picture of it, but essentially you can award a badge on whatever criteria you set up. You can award that, you will be able to award that in Moodle, and then display your badge in Mahara. So, and when a person looks at the badge, they can see by clicking on the badge how that was awarded, and they can decide for themselves whether they're going to respect that or just treat it as trivial. You could be a badge just for showing up at a conference, or it could be a badge that is an actual skill, and it could be a badge that's an actual certificate awarded by an academic institution. It's hard to predict exactly how this will play out over the next few years. Very exciting though. This is some more detail about the badges, and yet more detail. And if you want to find out more, there's a link to the on Moodle.org discussing badges, and you can actually download it and start using it. I haven't checked back actually since a few weeks, so perhaps it's even more advanced now. I would hope so, because they're going to be presenting it in 2 weeks. So just want to talk here, we're looking at concepts such as a learning commons. So Mahoodle would be Moodle and Mahara, but what if you worked Google Apps directly into that, so you could just bounce from one to the other? Could be a content management system here, could be another kind of social network here. There's one called ELG, which is very interesting. That's an area that we're looking at. And this one is very interesting. A company called Descendum in Finland. I met them at the ePortfolio conference last year in London. They are taking Mahara and adding a layer of value to it, and it's actually a proprietary solution based on an open source solution. But they've rolled this out to, I think, about 150 academic institutions in Finland right now, tens of thousands of users, and it's got some improvements on the basic Mahara engine, made it quite a bit more usable. And they also have this great gallery here where learners can publish their portfolio pages, and employers can look at them, and employers in turn can publish their job ads, and learners can compete for those job ads in a sort of a more public marketplace. It's not highly advanced right now, but it's a very interesting direction that it's taking. And that's the end of my presentation here. This is the career portfolio itself. That's my email address, Twitter, and this will take you to that page that I was talking about that's available. I'll go there right now and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is an actual page in my ePortfolio. I've got a similar presentation as the one I just made that I delivered in MoodleMoot in Vancouver last month. I've got one more focused on the employability portion right here. I've got some samples from video introductions. I've got some samples of evidence. I've got an example of somebody taking my picture, making a presentation at another conference in another part of Canada, and it going straight into my portfolio. And this is a similar video that I made for Descendum last month. Here are some good examples of actual graduates from our system, and a little discussion about open badges. And this is more about employability and how employers are starting to look at tools like LinkedIn and how Mahara can be aligned with that. And with that, I'm going to pause and take questions.